front.
Oh, can you want to like?
No, you're good.
Yeah. That's not good to see.
You too, beauty. Okay.
Hi.
You're good.
Ready? Hey everyone, welcome back to a new magical episode of Soul Reboot. I am your host, Allison Charles. I could not be more excited to introduce you to my next guest. If you ask her to describe herself, she will say she's a mother and she wouldn't have it any other way. But I know she's a whole lot more. She is a relationship and parenting expert. You've probably seen her on VH1's show, Marrying the Game and Hollywood Exes. She's a producer of so many projects, which I'm super excited to dive on into. Please welcome and meet this powerful divine queen whose name is Daphne Wayans. Hi, lovely. Yes, and the crowd goes wild. Ooh, sparkling divine dust raining down upon you.
I love it.
I am so happy to be here with you.
I'm so honored to be here.
You know, Instagram brought us together, right?
Yes.
And it was one of those like universal synchronistic things where I think we just saw each other, you know, like really saw each other.
I was low-key stalking you.
Oh, good.
I was low-key lurking, like, who is she? She's magical. I have to know her beyond this. So I don't know. I put the intention there, quantum entanglement.
It all happened.
Yeah.
And here we sit.
Here we are.
And wow, I know of you in terms of like the potency that I feel from you and the groundedness. Every time I'm around you, you anchor me. You have a really stabilizing, like grounding force about you.
Thank you. That's good to know.
But there's so much more about your life journey that I don't know yet. So today's the day.
Okay. Tell all.
So I was really intrigued to read that in your childhood, your parents really gave you permission to be like liberated in your exploration of who you are.
Yeah.
Why were they like free-spirited hippies, or tell me about this?
Bizarre. I think I just chose well. I'm going to take all the credit for that.
Okay.
But they didn't have any particular parenting technique they were doing. They are and were just good people.
Wow.
And they had enough space and comfort to allow me that. So they never encroached on me or told me what I had to do or be. So I didn't hear no a lot. And I grew up as an only child.
Yes.
So there was a lot of room for me to make decisions on my own, which I really appreciate now.
And what, if looking back, you know, what is one of those little nuggets or particles where you remember really deeply being able to explore yourself? Like, was it, I don't know, like what's one of those moments?
Well, it never occurred to me that that was a thing.
Until hindsight.
And until I saw other people, like I saw their experience with their family sort of enforcing realities on them. And it was the most bizarre thing. So I didn't have an idea that, wow, it wasn't until much later, until I became a parent, I needed to make a decision about how I would let my children, like what influences I wanted them to have and what decisions I was willing to make for them or not.
Yeah.
I realized in my own childhood that my parents hadn't really enforced anything upon me. They were really good examples of people. So I had them as good examples, and I grew up in a really beautiful and healthy environment.
And where was that?
In Inglewood.
Okay.
Inglewood, California. Very mean streets, which aren't that mean, but yeah.
Yeah, and I cannot wait to get into how you're now a mom of 5, because you grew up an only child, and we'll get there in a minute, because I'm intrigued to see like how your parenting style is similar or different.
Oh.
But let's keep tracking back to you evolving and growing up in adolescent time. So when you were 18, you were friends with Merlin and Sean Wayans, correct? And how did you link in with them, and how were you friends?
They would come to LA for the summers because they were from New York.
Okay.
They came to LA, and they were just like, you know, like they're always the cool kids in town, so I was one of them. So they'd come in and we'd have mutual friends, and they were like these New York kids that came to town.
So little fresh flavor.
Yes,
you know.
yes. So I was friends with them. They were like my summer friends.
Okay, so then how did the thread get connected? Where did you meet?
Keenan?
Yes.
Okay, so LA is a small town when you're from here.
Okay.
So I'm from here. I call myself the mayor. And it's a very small town when you're from here, and you're bound to run into people. And Keenan is from New York. All the Wayans are from New York. And I was friends with Eddie Murphy by way of his family.
Okay.
Keenan and Eddie were best friends, doing comedy together. They were writing Raw. They were doing all this really cool stuff.
Powerful time.
Yes. And so I was one of the cool kids. So I was,
you still are.
Right. I'm one of the cool kids. So I knew them. I was friends with them, and but I was really friends with Marlon and Sean. Like, that's who I hung with because they're a little bit more my age. And one thing just led to the next. And then I got older, and we were still friends, and I got older, and then I became of age, and then I started looking at Keenan differently. Like, he wasn't, I don't know, for some reason he was so much older and like this big intimidating man. Then he was just like a funny guy.
But did it ever shift where he didn't feel so much older than you? Because I don't know, like, as you were embodying your...
Well, he was also really young, a young spirit because he's a comedian.
True.
So he was really silly and funny, which I loved. That was like the initial thing that made me go,
a strong glue.
I love him.
That was one of the glues that got you a little bit.
Yeah.
And then
His
how
sense
long
of humor.
You guys got married?
Yeah, and we were together for close to 15 years.
It's a long journey.
Yeah, well, we had a lot to do in that time. We had to make
5
babies
kids.
and build a life together and build that life together.
And did you all ever co-create on work projects, or was it more, you know,
no,
king,
we
queen?
had very different roles.
Okay.
I was very much a homemaker, and that's what I always wanted to be. I didn't realize that was it until I was doing it. Like, it really felt like the right thing. And he was creating, and of course you have a wife, and she is influential in that way.
Sure.
Or in that she's your wife and you run things past her, and I'm there for everything, but I'm there to support my husband and my children.
Sure.
So, yeah, we didn't co-create in that way, but I was very much there, and I got to see everything come from like a spark of an idea to like a hit.
And manifestation.
Yeah, manifestation and all these other pieces and particles that were like, you know, like I got to see the stardust become like J-Lo and Jim Carrey and Jamie Foxx, but I saw them when they were just the little fibers.
Yeah, you've been on that evolutionary journey with so many of the top megastars.
Yeah.
Like, you've tracked back, like, way back before any of that started to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And so, keeping in line with your marriage, it sounds, you know, and I'm sure it was for so long, like, it feels like it had strength and a lot of deep purpose. So where did it start to get tough?
Well, I wouldn't even say it got tough. It just was time to change. So it changed. That was the life of that, was that. And then it was time for it to change and be something else.
Did you feel it? Was it a pretty quick change in clarity, or was it gradual?
Oh, it was, it was a life. Like, it had its own death.
Yes.
It had its own death, and it was dark, and it was scary, and it was lonely, and it was all the things that a death would be. It was a loss because that life was over, and then it had to change into something else because we still had this glue, these children, that we'd created life from it. So we still were connected by that, but we had to change as a couple. So we did
I just saw a vision.
Yeah, we just, I call it, I actually work with people on this, I call it uncoupling, rather than, because I realized part of the tussle and what made it so difficult was the fact that it's called a divorce, but you never really, it's not like a complete sever.
Right.
Not when you have children. Maybe if you don't have children, or
you can do some energetic cord cutting and all that.
You can do something like that. This, you just reconfigure. So I started working with people on that kind of thing, like family reconfiguration and
that's beautiful.
Uncoupling.
That feels really honoring, higher conscious level.
Because it acknowledges what happened before, and you just change. It's like anything else. I feel like when you have a relationship with your parents, you don't necessarily need them to parent you once you're an adult and you know how to do those things and brush your teeth and get across the street, okay? you don't need them to do those things. So the relationship changes, even though the title, you may still call them mom or dad. It becomes like one of choice and friendship.
I am seeing you and your like parenting and relationship expert voice. Like it so suits you.
Oh, thank you.
It's definitely a calling for you.
Yeah.
And because I think a lot of people watching can learn so much from your journey, can we just touch upon quickly, like, what was one of those tougher, darker, scarier moments where you had to face to transcend?
Oh, when I had to be okay with the divorcing, because in a marriage, we're kind of, sometimes a lot of us are just going along with a flow instead of creating for ourselves what that will be.
Okay.
So I had in my mind that this was never supposed to end.
Ooh.
But then once I took a step back and I looked around, all the relationships sort of expanded or graduated into some other kind of a relationship, and that's all that was happening. But the idea of it, and it was so public, and I couldn't even sort through my thoughts, so it was like the rug was pulled from under my feet, or the planet was pulled from under my feet.
Yes.
My whole world was going to change on a dime.
Definite awakening moment.
Yeah, and I hadn't had this beautiful, happy life. I hadn't experienced any real loss, and it's a long time to go without having experienced any loss.
Super confronting.
Yeah, some people do it when they're very young. That wasn't my story. My story was that I was gonna go along with this fairy tale life for a very long time, and then it would all come crashing on a dime. So to organize that, and now it's not like I could just do it on my own. I have these 5 little babies. My little.
Well, some of them are.
Well, now they're older, but at the time they were all really little. Like one was even like 1 or something.
I see.
So trying to sort through that, it's kind of like cope and organize. Cope with this and organize to keep moving forward, whatever that's going to look like.
I for real just saw, tell me if this resonates, but right when you were saying that, I saw like that was when an activation, I saw like these like golden, yellow, like queendoms really stepping into knowing who Daphne is.
I didn't know that's what was happening, but it was like, I just wanted to like hide and have it stop and go away. I wanted to wake up and have the nightmare be over, but it kept going. So then at one point I said, no, I have to just go with this because this train is going. For some reason, divinity, higher power, all the powers want this to happen.
Yes.
So and so my mantra was, I have to be better because I'm going through this much pain. I don't know what better means, but I have to be better. It won't stop.
Trusting you'll be shown that way, being guided, right?
And I wanted to always be, I always had the intention to make spaces better because I was there. Like.
So how did you start to come to find, because you're so multi-talented and you're a very creative soul and you're working on a lot of different projects, and so when did those first start to come in for you, and like your own light grid began to activate and you're like, oh, like this feels like a calling?
Well, that's what was happening. I had to find Daphne. I was so busy being a wife and a mother that I couldn't tell you who Daphne was. I was their mother and his wife.
So who is Daphne?
Well, now that's what I know now. I'm me. I'm me, and I'm a mother. I'm a friend. I'm a sister. I'm a lover. I'm a friend to my ex-husband. I'm creative. I'm a producer. all these things. And now, because I had an unusual life. I had never had a job outside of being, the most important job of all, raising children, having children, and raising children.
Sure.
I started to look at, as my children got older, I had more distance, space, and I could do more for me. I didn't have to, take care of my nest so closely. And once I started to look at, what am I an expert at? I'm an expert at being a mother. I'm an expert at having children and making children. So I'm a doula.
Yeah.
I
would love for you to be my doula.
I would be honored, and that's my gift to you, to be your doula. Just tell me where. That is my gift.
Don't make me cry on my own show,
yes,
but I just felt an energetic wave of blast just hit me on that.
Yes.
Planting that seed. It looks like far beyond planting the seed. That is manifested.
That's my gift to you. So.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Very rarely am I speechless, but you just did that for me.
That's my gift, and this is our witness.
Ooh, okay. Whoa.
It's my favorite. It's really my purpose. If I had to say why I even came here,
yes,
was to be a mother and a wife.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Yeah, what really lights you up? What brings Daphne Wayans joy?
That's it. Doula. Making actually not even the doula. That's a branch of it. I make people. I make people.
You make people.
I populate the planet.
And is that also where, because I'd be curious, where do you feel most honored? Like,
well, that's where I feel the most purposeful when in that area, and anything having to do with being a woman. So, you know, I don't know if you know this, I'm writing a collection of books, but they have to do with the return of the feminine energy, because it's gotten lost in this, you know, these women are different.
Yeah,
they're different than what their essence is. And their essence, our power is different than what's being shown. Our power is something very soft and mighty. It's not a heavy hand.
Yeah, it's a sensual, gentle power.
Yes.
And it's, yeah, we're definitely here during a time of global planetary awakening. The rise of the divine feminine is one of the key components of that shift on the planet.
That's right.
And it is all happening.
So I'm here, I'm a voice in that conversation.
So speaking of like sacred ritual and tapping into, like you mentioned, and this, I don't know why this surprised me, because it really shouldn't, but you wrote to me and said that you really relish that sacred alone time, the solitude. So,
well, in my divorce, one of the things that happened before, I could never imagine my children away from me, my little babies, but they're old now. And in the end, it all works out.
Yeah.
My ex-husband and I, we live 5 houses from each other, and we share the custody of our children, even the adult ones. I'm with them 1 week, they're with him 1 week, and they really get to experience their mother holy as their mother, and their father holy as their father. And then they take care of each other. So when they're not with me, it's a very different scene. It's not, you know, when we're together, it's loud, it's rambunctious, and when they're not.
What are they like? Just a couple of examples. Like, are they super creative? Are they also in the industry?
They are. Some of them are. They're my best friends and my favorite people, because it's a place where I can be the most transparent. And you have to come over and see them. The most transparent. I don't have to temper my words. I can just be. I don't have to hold anything back. I don't have to. We have the same sense of humor. We're interested in helping each other.
Do you guys co-create? Like, are there things that you guys work on together, or
yet? Well, my son is probably one of the most creative people, you know, in the family. He's a comedian and an actor, and he's going to film school, and he's pretty creative. And then one's a model, one's a photographer. The 2 little ones are in school, the 2 younger ones are in school still. So
the arts are still on it.
They don't really know what you could do in life. They're around. They've been raised around it very, very heavily.
So does your parenting style differ greatly from your own parents?
Yes, absolutely. My parents were, in a lot of ways, they were very lax about things. I'm very much good parents, but just laxed about a couple things, and that worked for me. Yeah, that worked for me and where I was in that time. Me, I'm very much. It'd be interesting to see. Like, I'm kind of on top of them a lot, because I feel like.
In what way?
There are things that. Well, I feel like there are things that I really stand on, and they're my products. You're my product.
Got it.
So I couldn't have this as a major complaint and then have my child be something else or something different. But at the same time, they also don't appreciate, they don't want me telling them. And I don't want to tell them. I want them to do things on their own volition.
Yeah.
So I become a master seed planter. How to have a very light touch of sprinkling seeds and letting them bloom, and have it be someone else's idea.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like an alchemist.
Yes.
In that way.
I have to be that.
And speaking of alchemy, can we just talk about, like, you're radiant. Let's just be honest. Let's be real. You glow. You're a beauty.
What if I was a reflection of you?
Oh my love, she is hitting me with it today, folks. Wow, thank you, thank you. I would love to know, and I believe, those of us that do this work or on the awakening path, like go within to face our shadows and do all of this kind of work. I think in a lot of respects, we almost like age backwards, like our eyes become clearer and brighter and skin glows more. So what do you attribute some of your radiance to? Like, what are some of the practices you do?
Oh, the quietness is a lot.
And what are you doing in the quietness? Are you soaking in the tub?
Sometimes it's just literal quiet. I'm having next month a sabbatical from the phone.
Ooh, like
no communication.
None?
Just none.
You will not be responding to me if I text.
Right.
Okay, noted.
No, I don't. If you mail a letter, I might be endeared to open.
I love cards, so I'll do that. Okay.
So it's just a month. I can live without that. Just like sometimes I'll take a fast from different areas of life. It might be a fast from food. It might be a fast from talking. It might be just quiet. So I have the good fortune of having time to myself to just, when the children leave, I have a day where I just become Daphne again, not anyone else's anything, just holding myself. And a lot of that is just quiet. It's just quiet. Sometimes I'm laying, sometimes I'm just walking around in my house by myself.
Do you hear spirit speaking to you?
I don't hear a sound like in a audio or sonic sense, but I get I always say I have two feelings. One is nauseous, and the other is butterflies. Yeah. And that's how I respond to everything. And everything from like eat this, open that, go there, or sometimes.
Which one guides you forward? Is the nausea a no, and the butterflies are yes?
Yes. And sometimes I'll just get like do that, and I just listen.
Take the plunge.
Whatever it is, do that is kind of another, like that's an urge forward, whatever that is.
And before we get into the last practice that I had you work on, your little shaman homework, the Soul Reboot Libs, can you share with us, like, what are some of the visions for, you're so on the path and you're constantly evolving and growing yourself. So what's something in the future that you just know is coming in, or what are you excited about?
Oh, well, I'm weaning out of this mothering phase of my life, and I'm mothering adults, but they're my best friends. So the mothering is different, the parenting is different, it's friendly, it's very much in a friendship, and I just always want to set an example. So I don't want to, sometimes I don't tell my children things, like I don't want to be telling them things. I'll have a conversation with an earshot, because that's a better influence than me with my gavel laying down the law and the truth. So that's that on the parenting. But for me, this is the time where I get to, all the things that I didn't do when I was having children, I had children young, I get to do now as an adult. Like I do my 20s and my other 20s.
What's one of those things? Come on.
The other 20s.
Tell us.
It'll be travel.
What's on your bucket list?
A lot of travel, a lot of love.
Like what place though on the planet is speaking to you the most? Egypt?
Not Egypt, but a lot of North Africa, West Africa, just the whole planet. I mean, other planets, anywhere. I just like
other
being
planets,
other planets.
Yes, if I had the rattle, I would have rattled.
Yes, I like just being away. A lot of those spiritual vortexes. Aurora Borealis.
Oh, yes. I've never been. My friends have gone, but I haven't gone.
Dying to just witness that. So those are on my list. And then new companion. That's when I feel most whole, when there's the reconstitution of the counterpart.
Yes.
So definitely that's going to be coming up soon.
Any possibilities, or like a total blank slate at this point in terms of the partner?
It's a sliding scale. But there's always, I live in LA,
Yeah, you've been in the,
I've been around. So it's nothing solid. Let's just say this. I don't have any engagement rings yet. So
well, I am.
We'll put that out there.
Yes.
Yes.
Likewise, holding space together on that. Wow. Whoa. I would love, I'm already saying in some future episode, you need to be a return guest.
Oh, absolutely.
Because like
please.
we have not even like.
Right, scratch the surface.
No,
Yes.
I could talk to you for days.
Yes.
Thank you for coming. However, let's dive into, so I had you do some homework.
Yes.
You filled in, you stream of consciousness answered some questions for
Okay.
me, and we have constructed and crafted Daphne Wayans' like personalized soul reboot mantra statement.
What
so
is it?
are you ready to read it? And I want you to read it and read it like loud and
Okay.
proud. Claim it.
I am ready for anything because I am worthy of feeling love. I allow my true effortless power to be embodied because I am ineffable.
I could faint back on that one.
I love this. I actually need to take a picture of this.
No, that's yours.
This is
That
mine.
is my gift
This is my
to you.
statement.
That
I'm
is-
ineffable.
You are ineffable.
Yes.
Thank you, Queen.
Thank you.
Such an honor.
It's a pleasure.
So much love.
I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you for everything.